do it? Why do it? And then it came to me. Drum roll, please. Class action suits. Did you know that there's a serious precedent that has been set, okay, for an innocent death by a foreign government? So in other words, and I'm just going to roll some things off the top of my head here. I believe back in the Reagan administration, we shot down an Iranian airplane over the Persian Gulf. Those people were compensated. There was another airplane that was shot over near the northern Japan, near the Soviet border. I don't know if it was during the Soviet Union. It might have actually been retaliation for something. I don't know. But those people were compensated. We know that the Lockerbie people were compensated. We know that when Ukraine shot down, I think it was a Malaysian jet flying over during the Russian situation during the Obama administration. Those people are probably compensated. The point is, do you know what a foreign government has to pay in compensation to the negligent or incompetent death of a foreign citizen? It's about $10 million. $10 million per death. Now, I'm going to ask you the question again. Do you really think that pumping up the numerator is an accident? Do you really think pumping up the numerator is there to make one political party or the other look bad? Because, one political party could say, oh, look at New York and how incompetent they are, and they screwed everything up. And then the other political party could say, oh, look at the federal administration. They really screwed everything up. And yeah, that bickering's going to go on. But I think it's a small aspect of why we're pumping up that numerator. Because we know in political events, things are kind of forgotten about a few months or maybe a year or so. Oh, no, this will never happen. Look at 9/11. Okay, do we still have that same mentality now as we did back then? A little bit. Look at impeachment. You ever hear any word about that anymore? And that was just a couple months ago. And that was big news back then. Now it's small potatoes. At the end of the day, as we walk through this, month after month, season after season, quarter after quarter, whatever the case may be, who's going to ultimately pay the price? It's going to be the people who were negligent in the release of this virus, whether naturally occurring or studied in a lab. The more information that comes out, the more we know, the more satisfied we are as a world that yes, this was probably an accidental release from a lab in China, in and around Wuhan, that specifically did study on bats, of which this virus came from, okay? And it is what? Miles away from where the first person who came down with the symptoms was. We know it was swept under the rug. We have evidence that there was multiple concerns about lax security and protocol in this area. The last administration of the United States gave millions of dollars to help secure protocol at this facility and also to participate, hopefully, in the research. This has been going on for years, maybe even a decade. This isn't just made up. These concerns were made known years ago. And now what happened? Oops. The virus was let loose. Through incompetence, through negligence, one can only hope. Because if it was intentional, it's an act of war. But let me tell you something. What's going to happen here is the United States is going to use the pumped up numerator, the pumped up COVID deaths, okay? Because China can't go to Hard Island and dig people up and say, oh no, this person died from cancer, you mark them as a COVID death. Oh no, this person died of a heart attack, you mark them as a COVID death. Oh no, this person died from cardiovascular disease, you mark them as a COVID death. China can't do that. They just have to take what we say this time at face value. 40,000. Well, the number is probably more about 30,000 or 20,000. We'll never know, okay? But the people at Cornell Medical Center know, because nobody's showing up with a heart attack anymore, or heart conditions, or heart disease. Why? Because every time they're dying, they're bumping them into this statistical category of the default setting for the COVID camp. Where do we go from here? Well, this is a long-term issue, isn't it? because at some point or another, China's going to have to face the facts. And I firmly believe it's probably going to be one of those situations where they will not admit to any wrongdoing, but they will settle. And boy, are they going to settle. This will probably have to be brought up in The Hague or whatever it is they have international justice, okay? China will probably admit to no criminal wrongdoing, but you know what China's big mistake is? They're in the WTO. That used to suit them well, but this time it's going to go against them because the whole world has suffered. I don't care who you pay off. People are going to demand justice. They're going to demand recompense. So where do they go? They go to China. And if China doesn't pay, you're either out of the WTO or we default on our debt that you hold, right? Or we withdraw all of our manufacturing from your country and bring it back home, which I tell you, there's probably a very big support, bipartisan support for that now. There was before, imagine now, or all three. So remember one of my postings was out of control government spending? I think it's out of control government spending like a fox, because by hook or by crook, that $2.2 trillion stimulus bill is somehow or another going to get paid by China, by the three things that I just mentioned there. Any other spending, any other kind of economic stimulus, such as roads, bridges, transportation, electrical grid, that's probably going to get paid by China too. You watch. This is going to be one of the biggest negligent lawsuits in the history of mankind. And why? Because China has the money. You can't sue Haiti or the Dominican Republic, right? Can't squeeze blood from a stone. But guess who's the country that's holding all of our debt? Again, not talking about the United States, because that is probably the number one answer. We probably hold most of our own debt, and you can look in that into the consequences of setting a precedent with this coronavirus, okay? What I'm talking about is China. China holds a large sum of not only our debt, but debt from all around the world. And for some reason or another, I firmly believe that we are going to leverage these deaths, okay? And you're going to see other countries start to warm up to this fact that the more deaths that there are of COVID, the more they can leverage China into footing the bill. I know this is all speculation right now, but what other reason is there bipartisan support to pump up that numerator? It makes us look bad. It makes us look really bad right now. But nobody's going to be thinking about that in the future. All they're going to be thinking about is the deep pockets that the Chinese have and how we are going to finally reduce our debt, finally going to bring manufacturing back to our country, finally hold China accountable for unfair practices, whether they're monetary practices, economic practices, or health practices. Again, I'm getting on here early. I don't see anybody talking about this. I want to speak the truth objectively, but I really think that this episode brings everything together. Only time will tell, okay? But I'm on record. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. No, please don't. I don't want you to smoke, because that is a horrible entry vehicle for the virus to get into your system and cause serious damage. Anyway, take care. God bless. Think the truth objectively, and we'll see what happens. I don't want to come back here and say I told you so, but I know nobody's watching, so I won't have to. Anyway, take it easy. Bye-bye.